I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us for, the premiere of this amazing new series. The original film, Sexy Beast, so iconic. Hard to believe Jonathan Glazer's feature debut. We were always a fan of that movie. And what was your first thought when they suggested going back and revisiting these characters and kind of their origin story?
Yes, I'd seen it. Yes, I thought it was brilliant. And I thought, wow, hang on. And then I read it and I thought, yeah.
No, I'd say I saw the film when it came out. I think if for anyone who's seen that film, you never forget it. It's, as you say, it's iconic. Not just the film as a whole, and because it's directed by Glazer, but the characters and the performances are sort of seared into our memory. So when the opportunity came along to get involved with this origin story, it was initially very daunting and then thrilling. Because it's the kind of thing you just have to go in all guns blazing and hope for the best initially. But I think it was quite terrifying to begin with.
I think everybody came at it with a love for the film and a respect for the film, because it wasn't just your average gangster film. It's the psychology of those characters and situations that they're put into which are going to change their lives spectacularly and they cannot get out of. And so I think we were all daunted, but also excited by the idea of, in a way, creating those characters from scratch. Because that film, I read the script again, the screenplay, and it starts at a certain point, and there's nothing talking about the past, So what we all got to do was take these characters 6 or 7 years before on a blank slate and sort of create them, knowing that you're getting to a point Z, but starting from this whole place where it's free. So I think daunting and really, really exciting too.
And I think the thing that's so striking about the original film, and also, so well captured here, is the 90s kind of style, the atmosphere, this London criminal underworld. How much does that help you kind of get into your characters? And was it a lot of fun to kind of lean into all of that?
I don't know if anybody else did this, but I was 25 in 95, and I created a Spotify playlist of like 94 to 98. And which is my era at that time, and a lot of that music is in the series, and that it gives you a real sense of going back in time to that. So for me, that sort of propulsive beat, and we had a little. They showed us a little sort of few clips very early on, set to Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax, which felt so right for the sort of energy that we were trying to portray.
Your character, Cecilia, I mean, this is a real man's world. It's a very hyper-masculine world, but she is formidable and I think described as pathologically controlling somewhere in the description of the show. What was it like getting to play her? How did you get under the skin of her?
Well, being a character that doesn't appear in the film, I thought it was wonderfully inventive to see the pool that Don has been created from, and to have his primary influence being that of a female. So an older sister who has become a surrogate mother to him. And, I think we're used to going back and seeing male influences on people who then turn out to become aggressively broken human beings. But for it to be a woman, I think, is intriguing and heartbreaking. So it was really hard to think, well, what, you can look at a character and you go, wow, what is wrong with them? But actually the more inspired question is, well, what's happened to them? And if this boy has been brought up by such an aggressive, as you say, aggressively controlling woman, who's all she's trying to do is fight the monsters. She makes young Don watch while the abuser dies at her hands, because then she can prove that she is capable of killing the monsters that terrify him. And that's a kind of warped love, which is interesting.
Thinking of Don's character and kind of, the friendship and between your character and James McArdle's, how did you kind of work on that together? And for yours, were you taking any cues, looking at Ben Kingsley's performance, or did you kind of just go more from the essence of the character rather than sort of the physicality and mannerisms and things like that?
James and I had worked together 6 months previously in a play. So we kind of got to know each other a little bit. doing that. And it was funny when, we had this fight call before we did the show every night, and we used to say, because we only had like one little bit together in the play, we used to say we have to do something else together, and it was a pipe dream, but hopefully we get the chance to do something where we can actually get into something. And then 6 months later this came along, so we kind of had this camaraderie from the get-go. And then the second part of your question, did I look to Ben Kingsley's performance in the film? I mean, of course. And initially when I was asked to come in to read for it, I was told to kind of be Ben Kingsley and don't be Ben Kingsley. And I kind of knew, I thought that I knew what they meant, like kind of nod to that performance because it's incredible and it's so iconic, and it'd be silly for me not to take little tidbits and little golden nuggets from what he's doing, but for me to try and imitate that in any way would have been ridiculous and impossible. So all I tried to do was take little ticks and sort of the minutiae of his performance and a lot of vocal things in his performance and filter it through me and try to live and breathe it in my own way.
Do you do the same with Ian McShane, or a different approach?
Yes, and he has like 4 scenes in the movie, and they are all extraordinary, and silence and status and power. And he's almost, Glazer does this thing where he sort of stays on people for 8 seconds at a time in a close-up, which you never see in film. And of all of everybody, McShane does the least. But one of the things that I had to take on board, even whilst thinking about that, was that my Teddy isn't there yet. My Teddy is 6 years before that, and so, or 7 years, whatever it is.
It's about 10, isn't that
40.
a decade?
Yeah.
So you're a child.
Because I'm so young.
Yeah, true.
And so which allows you to have moments of joy, which perhaps you don't see in that version of that character, because they're all living in Spain, in the film, with the consequences of the actions that have led to that. We haven't done that yet, and we haven't even thought of what that might be yet. And the other thing is that we're all emerging, we're all putting our heads above the parapet. We're all at a certain level within the underworld, and we're all rising up to meet. And that's how I meet Gal and Don, because I want them to take on a job that's going to rise us all up. And Cecilia's character realizes that she can be part of that too. So it's all about this emerging sort of spectre and taking on some of the really difficult characters in London by doing so. So there's a sort of tension and fear and excitement wrapped up in all of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing that with me. Can't wait for everyone else to see Sexy Beast. Congrats on the series. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.